Okay.
So if you don't mind telling me your name and your date of birth and where you were born.
I'm Kent Lambert. I was born July the 5th, 1945, and my parents were living at Topeka, but I was born in Tylertown.
What did your parents do for a living?
Different things, actually. My father, when we moved from Topeka to Monticello, went to work as a butcher and farmer supply. I had a little everything. And he continued. He went to work for Jones Market in Brookhaven after that as a butcher, and then he started selling meat, wholesaling. Then he opened a Shell service station here in Monticello. Building's still here. My mother worked at the garment plant. I think it was Kelwood. She might have started at Phalo, I'm not sure. And then she went into retail, working for people who owned stores, just as a floor salesperson.
Was religion part of your home?
That word that you're saying, I can't understand.
Were y'all church-going folks?
Oh, yes. Yes. Religion, that's what I couldn't understand. All right. Yes, I went to the Methodist Protestant Church when I was a little tiny thing, a toddler, and then switched to the United Methodist Church, and I've never belonged to any other church than the United Methodist Church here in Monticello.
Was there ever a time when money was tight?
That was pretty much all the time. They didn't make much money. My father didn't believe in women going out of the house to work, but my mother did anyway because they needed it. So, that was pretty much it. I had things. They provided for me. But there was never a time that it wasn't, that we could go really do a splurge, let's put it that way. Today, every day would be considered a splurge as far as the way I was raised.
What were some of the things your family did together?
Work, mainly. My mother actually worked longer hours than my father, but even when she was working 8 hours a day, she'd come home and clean house and cook, and then when she went to work in retail, she was working 12 hours a day. Everybody worked 12 hours a day back then. And so she was busy all the time. My father, Monday through Friday, would go to work. I don't remember the hours at Farmer Supply, but when he was working out of Brookhaven, living here, he would go to work, leave for work about 6 o'clock in the morning and make it back about 7 to 8, maybe 6:30 sometime, Monday through Friday. Saturday, did work around the place. So there wasn't a lot of family activities except going to church.
What foods do you remember in particular from your childhood?
Meat and potatoes. My father was a butcher, so I had plenty of meat. And I love Irish potatoes. That's the main one.
What did your family do on Christmas?
Well, it was traditional Christmas. We went out, of course you could back then, there wasn't so many people, and got a Christmas tree every year from Growing Wild, and I don't know, probably 2 weeks before Christmas, because we had no stand to keep it watered. I don't even remember, nailed boards on the bottom to hold it upright, and then took it down right after New Year's Day. And getting up, of course, my sister and myself were real excited on Christmas morning and see what Santa Claus had brought. But it was just a traditional. We would have ridden down to Topeka to visit my paternal grandparents. And that's about it.
What would you like to say about the community that you lived in Lawrence County growing up?
I don't know. I mean, it's basic. Our society has evolved, so it's not the same. But considering it then to the rest of our country and today the rest of our country, it's about the same. I mean, more people passing through, a lot more traffic, awful lot more traffic. People up later at night. That came about when they built the paper mill. I remember that when I was a kid, 9 o'clock, there was no traffic, absolutely no traffic.
What was going to town for you like?
You mean here? I was raised in town, or are you talking about traveling someplace else?
Whatever, however you want to take it. Like, did y'all go to Brookhaven or Jackson?
Jackson was a rare trip. That was kind of a long trip and Brookhaven we went occasionally. Of course, my father, I don't remember how old I was when he started working out there, but it wasn't that rare. It was all here, really. Friday afternoon when the garment plant workers got paid, and then people came in from the county on Saturday, and that's when the business was, Friday afternoon. There was some other than that, but that's the main business in Monticello when I was young.
What was school like for you?
Boring. Just totally boring. I wanted to be outside having fun, and that's what I tried to do, and I just got through, did what little I had to get passing grades, but that was it. Some of it was fun, like when I got in high school. Went to high school here except for my senior year. Pool hall was Catacony across the street over here. It's not the bank, it was an old auto Chevrolet sales place. And anyway, they turned it into a pool hall. And I'd like to skip school and go over there, and wasn't much pool. The old men playing dominoes, wasn't watching them. Just main thing was skipping school, and because I didn't want to be here anyway.
What did you end up doing after school? After you finished school?
Oh, after I finished school? A couple of semesters at Colin, got married, and then from there it was constantly, not constantly, but pretty regularly changing jobs. I get bored with them too. And when they built the paper mill, I got a job at the paper mill, and stayed with the paper mill 16 years. And through the green mail that was allowed in the early 80s, 1980s, St. Regis is who I worked for. Had to sail out, and I was technically not rehired. Basically, I was fired, which turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because I was fulfilled as a human being far beyond what I would have if I'd stayed with the mill, because I wouldn't have quit the mill. For an uneducated Mississippi redneck like myself, I couldn't have made any more money or anything. I did go on and get some more schooling later on. I was an old man. I started back to college at 50 years old and got the degree I wanted when I was a young man, which was theoretical physics. And I enjoyed that now. That schooling I enjoyed. Because I was older, a lot older, and doing something I enjoyed doing. So, but I as far as work, I originally, because I had been around retail, it was easy for me to get retail jobs, and went to work. I did a little wholesale to retail stores also. Went to work at the mill, got fired, moved to Jackson, got a job, and finally went into business. In 1987, it was 86 or 87, pretty sure it was 87, I went to work. I said, I'm not going to make any money working for the other fellow. $600, a few tools, and a wore-out old car. I went into business for myself. Called myself a general contractor. And along the way, from 1987 until I retired in 2007, I made money a lot of different ways. I did some acting, made money. I taught some things. Of course, I went back to school and got my degree. I was going to teach school, but I didn't. I ended up buying a business.
Did you and your wife have kids?
My first wife, yes.
What was it like raising kids in Lawrence County?
Well, we could turn them loose, and they'd raise Cain. But yeah, it wasn't real easy.
What have been some of the most important places in Lawrence County, in your opinion?
In Lawrence County for me? The old family place at Topeka is definitely one of them. The light plant, because when I was a kid, when I was 12, 13 years old, my parents would allow me to stay down there overnight, me and a friend, or sometimes there'd be a few of us, and we would just go down there and stay the night, and we'd go in the afternoon, swim in, stay the night, and sleep outside. We didn't have a tent. It's warm in summertime, so you really didn't need anything to cover up with. Take something to sleep on, like a sheet or old sheet or something. So that was an important place. He was an older teenager, would come in every summer for a few summers, and one year he showed up with an old Cadillac, and he decided he wanted a convertible. So he took a hacksaw and a cold chisel and cut the top off of it. It wasn't converting, it was permanently opened up. But anyway, we had fun down there.
How would you say Lawrence County has changed?
Well, the evolution of our society, of course, but the buildings, there's a lot torn down, a lot of change. One of the things that seems to me is the Monticello community, at least, has not kept its old buildings still. Well, we got old buildings. I mean, this building we're in now is probably 100 years old or older. I really don't know, but that would be my guess, because when I was going to school in this building, the plaster was falling out of the ceiling, and that was in the early 1960s.
What do you miss about the past?
About the past? I don't know that I miss anything other than my youth. Maybe I would prefer to be younger.
What do you like about the present?
Being alive. It's life. If I'm nostalgic and want to go back in time, then to me I'm being foolish. And the present, we got a lot of conveniences. Air conditioning is one, 'cause we sure didn't have it when I was young. I didn't use it most of my life. I was 56 or 57 before I started using air conditioning. Now I wouldn't do without it.
Speaking of technology, do you remember your first contact with a television set or a computer?
Oh yeah. The television set was at a neighbor's house. We got our first television set in 1953. And so I was turned 8 in the summer of '53. So there's not a lot I remember not having a TV. I do remember gathering around a radio before we had a TV. A few times, mostly we didn't. Our computer, I got a computer. It had gotten to where I couldn't find a book in a library because they didn't have a card catalog. They had computers. I was totally computer illiterate. Now I love to play with them, but that was in the mid-90s. And I went back to school in 95, I think it was. Yeah, that's when I turned 50, and I had to learn. So, and I loved it, still do.
So what is your best piece of advice?
I don't know that I have any advice to give. I don't know that I'm qualified, but this is what I try to do, and I think it's a decent way of living, and that's try to appreciate my life, whether I consider it good or bad. It's all I got. So, you know, if it's bad and I lament my problems, then I use other words to describe this, but I won't here. But I'm wasting my life. I need to appreciate what's there, good or bad. That's it.
Is there any final words that you want to share in the interview?
I don't guess. I understand people staying in a small town now. I didn't when I was young, but I do now. That's about it.